I wanted to make a quick video for you guys to talk about a new rig that I've been trying out, and I like it a lot. It's called a Mortician Rig, and I learned about it from another surf angler on a forum, calls himself the Mortician, and he came up with this rig. He calls it the Mortician Rig, and it's a little different than a regular dropper loop, and I'll explain why. Normally, I fish with a 60-pound fluorocarbon leader. Reason being, I want to be able to upsize my sinkers, if need be, up to 6 ounce if I've got a lot of heavy surf and I want to hold the bottom. But the problem I have with that is sometimes the fish that are out there, what seems to be hitting are smaller mouthed, and a 2-aught hook, like such as this one here, is sometimes a little big and you miss them. So you want to put a 1-aught hook on there. Pompano, whiting, some of the smaller species, they just can't take that bigger hook. But the problem is the eye on the hook is so small, the diameter of the 60-pound fluorocarbon is just a little too large to fit through there. So what the Mortician came up with is a standard, pretty much a standard fluorocarbon leader with 2 figure-8 knots at 2 points, one here and then one a little further down for the second hook. And the way that works is you take in this case I used a 30-pound fluorocarbon, which fits nicely through this 1-aught hook, and you don't really need to have a heavy leader because the hook itself doesn't take the stress of the cast, only the leader and the main line. So by making these individual hook sizes up on lower tests, something that'll fit through there, you just loop it around like so, and when you pull it through, it snugs up nice and tight between these 2 knots, and once I draw this up all the way, it can slide freely in between these 2 knots and stay in place nicely. The other advantage of this Mortician rig is only 1 knot that you need to tie. You only need to learn 1 knot, whereas in the case of a dropper loop, which is not a complicated knot, but you have to learn how to tie the dropper loop, which you see here on this one, and then each end has a loop knot. It's the same, these knots are the same whether it's the Mortician rig or the dropper loop rig. So I usually make a little larger loop on this end, and the reason why is because I want to be able to put whatever size sinker I need to hold the bottom. So with a large loop like that, you just slip it through the eye, bring it around, pull it up tight, and in a matter of 15 seconds you can change from 3 to a 4 or 5 ounce or even a Sputnik. So I'll put one of these loops on the end of the Mortician rig, and I'll put a smaller one on the other end so that I can put a swivel on there. Same type of thing, it's just a loop. You push it up through there and pull it down, and I keep these rigs stretched on a piece of PVC so that they stay nice and straight, because the 60-pound is kind of thick and it wants to curl up, and I like to keep it nice and straight. So I'll show you how to tie these knots. First of all, at each end you're going to do a double figure-8 knot, and so you start off with what you want it to look like, and you simply make one loop like so. Now instead of pulling it through this way, which would be an overhand knot, you bring it around and then put it through, and when you do that, you'll end up with a perfect figure-8 loop knot at the end. Use the same knot for your hooks to in the case of these little leaders that you make up, you have one at each end, one for the hook and then one to loop around for the mortician area. So it's the same thing at the in-between points where you're going to put 2 figure-8 knots. What you're going to do is you just take a single strand, make a loop, again bring this around, put this through, and you have a perfect figure-8 knot. Very simple. Takes a little practice to get to remember how to bring it around that second time so that you can have the figure-8 on there, but it's the same whether you're making a loop figure-8, which is like a double, and I'll show you that knot again. So you start off with the whatever size loop you want. You make a loop like so. Now this is on top, so you're going to bring this all the way around and then put it through, and you'll have a perfect figure-8 knot. Just draw that, cinch that up, and that won't slip. So I hope that was helpful, and try this Mortician rig. If you want to downsize your hooks, and you can see the difference between this is a 2/0 and this one here is a 1/0. And the other advantage is, of course, I could switch back over to any size hook I want. I can upsize it if I have these leaders made up in advance and put them in a little baggie, and I can swap these hooks out. Maybe I want to put a piece of cut bait on there or whatever. So it's a really nice, I love this rig. It's a really nice swap out option to go from one hook to the other. Otherwise, what I'd be doing is I'd be trying to unlace this hook, take the loop off of it, and then put another one on, which it's easy enough to do, but when you're out on the beach, it's not so easy. The wind's blowing, the surf is going, and you want to try to tighten this down to fit it through the eye. It's just so much easier to have one of these made up and swap it out. And the other nice thing is, too, quite often these hooks will get rusty, so you have to swap them out, and you can have these on hand and just throw one on there and you're good to go. So I hope that was helpful, guys. Try the Mortician rig. I recommend it.